Hello everybody, welcome to DevTips. My name is Travis. This is the second video in a series called How to Make a Website from Start to Finish. Last week, we looked at the discovery process and we talked about how to use empathy to make sure that we're building the right thing for the right people. We also looked at a way to organize ourselves and our project. Now keep in mind as you're watching all these videos that this is all unrehearsed, mostly unscripted stuff. My goal is to help you to understand the whole process as it goes through my hands, and I want you to feel kind of like you're like over the shoulder, like a fly on the wall kind of idea as I go through all these steps. So there's going to be a lot of mistakes and there's going to be a lot of dumb ideas that hopefully don't make it through to the final product, but you know, this is just real life and that's what I'm trying to capture for you guys. We used Trello to organize the insights we gained from the discovery process to create actionable items that we can track and hold ourselves accountable to as we move through the whole process. Let's take a look at Trello now. Here are the different features or sections that we need to design for. We said that we wanted to showcase the artist's personality, and we also definitely want to have a showcase itself, the work. Testimonials would be a good idea, and definitely need a way for a client or a viewer to contact this artist. Now we want to keep in mind at the very baseline that all clients are interested in the return on their investment. All clients want to know that if hiring you is a good idea, right? That's their main reason for going to your website. So we want to keep that in mind and bring that concept out in every section that we work on. Will this help them to make that business decision? Now it's important to refer back to these items often as we go through the process. It can be quite easy to get sidelined by a new idea and become totally off track. Now in this video, we're going to be doing some wireframing and sketching, and I'm going to have Trello with me on my iPad the whole time so I can continually check back and reference it to make sure that I'm designing for the right things that we already went over in our discovery process. Now after we're done sketching, we're going to jump into Photoshop and quickly continue to iterate on the ideas that we're developing and continue to push our project along. So right now, let's get sketching. You see here I have my notepad. It's a large one, and let me zoom in a little bit. You can see there's a dot grid in there. I like the dot grid. It helps me draw straight lines, but doesn't make me do it if I don't want to. So I don't really draw big. Sometimes people come over and they draw on my pad. I allow anybody to draw on my pad. Sometimes they come and they draw big, websites, and they just big old headline. I'm kind of more conservative, so I kind of just section off a little area like this. Let me zoom in here, and this is kind of where I do the work. And I'll draw a half of a rectangle, and this is kind of, it's because the drawings or if I'm doing layouts, they can get quite long vertically. Let me position that and zoom in a little bit. Okay, they can get quite long vertically, so I only do the border across the top. And then now what I want to do here is, this is going to be the header, and I think that I want to have like a nice hero image up here in this top section, and I have a space for my name and maybe a tagline right here, like maybe my personal tagline says designer, thinker, YouTuber. So that this artist can have something similar, and we'll put a small logo here, and then I'll have this area commonly for nav. So like, this is nothing new. You've seen this a million times before. This is very common layout, and it's not going to knock anybody's socks off. But the idea is that we're drawing it out here so that we have an understanding of the whole layout and how the different components are working together. Okay, so let's continue. After I have this kind of hero image, it's maybe like how that kind of really conveys the emotion of the site. I want to next convey like my distinct personality, and oftentimes that I'll do that like just with my face here. Got like a little profile photograph, a headshot, and maybe a title across the top of it, or my name below it, or something like that. And this is a good opportunity to, am I zoomed in enough? It's a good opportunity to like use those the elements of my personality that we're talking about. So like I would want like a blurb right here. And maybe I'll put like little icons here for like the skills that I have. Like maybe this would be like a paintbrush, and this could be a mouse clicker, or like, you know, a computer mouse or something, and that could be like a code cursor. I don't know what that would be. I don't do I don't know. So okay, so we got a blurb, and I think there's like a good opportunity to like talk about our specific skill set, and this does cover that. These icons up here cover that in an interesting way, but you know, maybe, I don't know, sometimes I see some cool like bar graphs and stuff, like, oh, if you're good at Photoshop or if you're good at Illustrator. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll just put it in here and see what comes of it. But I think this section is looking a little bit long. Another reason why it's good to be able to draw this, you know, this small is because I'm just doing it quickly, but also I can see like the proportions of each section in comparison to another. So I can imagine somebody scrolling down here, you know, how long are they going to have to scroll before they get to the bottom of this particular section? And of course, this is not to scale. You know, our about section doesn't have to be twice as long as our header here, our hero header image, but you know, but we have an idea of the type of content and like the space that it would, you know, they would have in relation to each other. Okay, now I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I want to have like a title, like maybe I don't even need a title, but I'll block one in there. And this is going to be, need some extra space. This is going to be my gallery area. So do 1, 2, 3. I'll have like a spot for 8 units. It's going to be a grid. They could have padding between them, or they could be tight locked up here. Could be full width, I don't know, just for the fact that I'm making space for them and I'm thinking about the pacing of all of these sections as you go down. So I also want to think a little bit about, but not to spend too much time on, how does the gallery react in an interaction way when somebody is, you know, when you click on a thumbnail, how does the image, the classic move, like the old style of things, is just to do a simple, you know, a light box or an overlay. But we could do something more interesting, like maybe the image shows, you know, the series of images show up below it. You see that? Okay, so the images might show up below it here, and kind of like you can X them out or something like that. Or maybe here, I think this is kind of more interesting. What if they're held off screen? Now the symbol for an image is a box with an X through it. That's classic. Kind of like shorthand for things. Like, for example, this symbol here of a ruled box here with lines in it means a left-aligned paragraph. This is obviously a user avatar. This a three-sided rectangle with a squiggle in the middle usually means like a headline. You notice I reused that kind of symbol right here. These are all just shorthand that mean things, and I don't know if they're, I don't think they're like totally standards across the industry, but you like this is one of the more strong standards, and this one less so. But you can see these types of things as you kind of move around. You see these common shorthand symbols that appear up. So I'm thinking we'll have this kind of you know, expanded imagery on the outside, and then when you click on this guy, it would slide in and these would slide out, so kind of like the whole thing would shift. I think that's an interesting interaction, but we don't need to spend too much time on it, like I said. So I'm going to draw this box down here, and now an important thing that we decided was that our clients definitely want to see a testimonial, and I was thinking about it a little bit, and I really like I'm not a huge fan of carousels for the sake of carousels, but when they're done right, they can be pretty effective. And testimonies are, you have to walk the line, right? Like they could be really boring and it could be pretty interesting. So what I'm thinking is we'll have this section for testimonials, and I'll want to put here. I'll put another headline here. It says like testimonials or client, feedback or something like that. And I want to have like the logos of, let's say, 3 or 4 clients. And I'm not going to have, I could have the little arrow guys here, but those are not going to be primary. They're going to be secondary. Primary is going to be this guy here, right? And it's going to be highlighted or something. And then it quite simply will have the avatar of the guy or the girl or whoever's speaking, their quote, and some information about them. What's their company name and what's their title. And in this way we can, be able to click through and see we have, even if you don't click through these other icons for other companies, if they're recognizable companies, then there's that social proof, right? If you see a recognizable image or a face or a word or a company name, it gives kind of evidence that this artist is a pro. Like they can back up what they're saying. They can walk the walk as well as talk the talk. Okay. Let's continue on. I think there's an interesting opportunity here, speaking of social proof, of just like throwing down some good old-fashioned social icons. So here's going to be a Twitter. We'll have a Dribbble, Behance, and maybe a LinkedIn, social links. And then below that, this will kind of transition this into contact, because people will check these things out, and it's like a form of contacting you, right? Like finding you on social networks. So we'll have this opportunity to, and I'll put this at Gmail, and this is like your name. This is an email address right here, .com, and then that's like the, if they want to email you directly. And there's also an opportunity here to have like a form, or they could, they can send you a web form, right? Or they can send you a message via your website. Okay, and then after that, am I off the page? Okay, let me try to squeeze this on here. Okay, and then after that, we got just a footer. So you want to have kind of a few important links and copyright, and whatever else you need in the footer. Cool. So this is quite a website. We have quite a lot of information here. Okay, I want to do another one just so I have a way to, I don't do a lot of these, but I want to have something to bounce my ideas off, right, to compare them, and maybe as I'm working through, something new will show up, okay? Here's like a really interesting idea. Like, the thing is, if we do think of the client, we say, Mr. Client, what do you want? He wants to know that you're a good designer, he wants to know that you're trustworthy, and he wants to know how to contact you, right? That's kind of it. So let me just put like a little, here's your face, here's your name, and here's like your sections, right? Here's your bio. I'll just write this out. Bio, work. What's the other ones we decided? Testimonials and contact. And then how should I want to put? Anyway, so I think this is a really interesting idea to make your grid just like put this navigation in the vertical sidebar, and make this your grid of work. And then when you click on testimonials, these could, fall away, and then your new layout would be something like this. We just have a list of these testimonials and so forth. The same kind of concept can be taken like with contact. A form would show up. And I think this is really interesting opportunity. Now I wanted this website to be sorry to the form. I wanted this website to be a single page. Mostly because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the nitty-gritties of the, making multiple pages and all this kind of thing. But I think this is interesting, and we can in fact use JavaScript to make it still a single page app. Just pull them in with Ajax and stuff. So I really, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this. I was almost sure that I was going to end up doing something like this, but this is interesting. Let's try one more. Let's see what else we got in us. Okay, going back to our Trello list, I'm just checking over my shoulder here. We got personality, gallery, headshots, testimonials. What could we do to be a little different? Here, let's just start framing out our website. Okay. What if, okay, I'm just kind of being inspired by this really big blocky section. What if it was like, there's a small space for a header and it kind of feels like it's beneath the things. So we're using like drop shadows or something right here. And you've got your title, maybe like your face, and some nav. I'm not a big fan of the hamburger approach, but let's just see where this goes. Maybe that's acceptable because this is your nav. This says work. This says about. This says clients, and this says contact. Now this could be interesting, right? So like if you came to this freelancer's or this artist's website and it was just like, boom, what do you want? I mean, it's actually I just did a pet peeve of my own to say the word boom during explaining UI. I think that's always an over dramatization of UI. But the idea is, it's like unmistakable what this person can offer you right now. So you click on work, and we have like some kind of interesting transition. But the result would be that we're looking at now this kind of same header and a grid of the work. And I don't know, maybe you click on one and inside of the grid so like let's say you clicked on this guy, these would still remain, but this one would expand out to take up this area, have a close button on it, but it would be all of the pieces of the work, right, with explanations and stuff. And then the grid would continue after that work piece was finished. Oh, I didn't realize I was drawing off the side of the page. Sorry, guys. I wasn't looking at the camera. So what I was saying is that it would have this work that would expand down inside of the grid. So it would just kind of move everything down, which is an know, an interesting idea. I think this is kind of interesting. Maybe I could design for it a little bit and see how far it goes. I think that it's kind of heavy. I think it's really heavy-handed, but also it could be unique. And something like this would translate really well to a mobile device. You know, like imagine that's your phone right there, and it's just a menu. Anyway, so I think this one right here is the most traditional and maybe what kind of people are expecting. And if I'm honest, maybe the most utilitarian as well, because we do have each section very plainly, and you could just, you just scroll down as long as you like to find what you need. Although the contact is at the bottom, I'm sure there's a contact here in the navigation, and the navigation would follow you too. Now that we have a few strong ideas of how we want to organize the page, we can run over to Photoshop or any other graphics program and start to iron out and think about the visual language of the page, and make a few more decisions about how people will interact with the different elements. Notice that at no point do I think that I'm done making decisions. I'm making decisions all along the way. I mean, at this point, I don't know what colors I'm using, my type, what imagery I'm using. I don't know what the thing's gonna even say. I just know who it's for and roughly how it's going to fit together. So I sat down last night to start creating, and I quickly realized that I wasn't ready to even start. So I had to get ready, and I've gotten ready. So I'm going to do it tonight. But I want to talk first a little bit about asset creation and content creation and collection. If this is going to be a creative portfolio, we actually have to have a portfolio. We actually have to have work to show. So instead of just using my own work that I had laying around on my own hard drive to populate this site, I went to Behance and I contacted a few creators whom I respect and admire, and I asked them if I could use their work as sample projects in this project, for this site. So I hope I don't get your names all horribly messed up, but I want to give a sincere thank you to the contributors of the portfolio section in the coming up design. Okay, so Mikhail, thank you. Petrus, Sergey, I really appreciate that you allowed me to use your work in this project. Ayub, Anton, Nick, thank you so much. I hope I'm not getting any of your names wrong. I'm not saying your last name because I know that I'm going to get those wrong. Jonathan and Jayu, thank you so much for letting me use your work. All of these 8 creators are contributing, and again, their work is going to be found in the portfolio or the work section of this site that we're creating together. And you can also find links to their portfolios in the show notes or in the video description. And also, I'll be having their links and a thank you to them in the markup that we have yet to write. So, and again, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Your work is exceptional, and I'm really appreciative that you allowed me to showcase it in this project that we're doing here today. Other things that needed to be done were to find Creative Commons images, fonts, and icons, because I'm not really going to use this for myself. I'll probably end up giving it away to everybody. It's important that these things be free to use, So it took a while, and I actually didn't design anything yet. So this is day 2. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying in the last video, that a lot of what a designer does is preparational and organizational and planning work, okay? You have to be not only good at Photoshop or pushing pixels around, and if you're focusing on development, not only good at understanding the programming languages, but to organize. You really have to have a sense for organizational, instructional, and collaborative skills. So this goes back to that. But now we're finally ready to do the glamorous part and jump into Photoshop and push around pixels. So let's get started doing that. Okay, that design took about 2 hours, a little bit less, but I decided not to make the whole video real time because that would be like really exhausting. Maybe not boring, but definitely exhausting for you guys. So I shortened it up, made a fun song. But look, if you like this stuff and you love pain, I put a secret link in the description of this video to a full like 2-hour video of the Photoshop designing process. And you know, if you have to decide how much of a masochist are you, go ahead and click that link. Okay everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end of this video. Now that we have a solid visual language and a good idea of how the interactions will work, we're ready to start thinking about the technical requirements to making this site actually live and working. What technologies will be involved? Where will we put it when we're ready to publish? How do we organize our workflow and workspace around these things? All that and more next week here on DevTips. If you enjoyed this video or found the content interesting or helpful, please share it with your friends on Twitter or your classmates on Facebook, or share it with your old Aunt Edna who just really wants to hear from you because she haven't heard from you in a while. And frankly, she's worried. Thanks everyone, love your butts. Bye.